Hello friends, my name is Shivam from DevOps Schools and I will help you to enable your learning process in various technologies of DevOps, artificial intelligence, machine learning, big data and many more. This is our initiative to help you by sharing multiple tutorials and videos. And if you want any specific tutorials or any particular topic, then please do comment in the below comment section and I will help you with it. Also, please subscribe to our premium services on YouTube, which will give you access to more content and videos to enhance your knowledge about all these topics. Also, if you want me to help you with regards to the online trainings and classroom sessions by our qualified trainers, then please do write me at contact@devopschool.com. Thank you.
So let's say address book version 1.0 is deployed to production. Now the development of application is done by the developer. Developer does not have any control on the server on which the application is deployed. Okay, we do not have containerized application here in this example. The application is deployed on a physical machine or a virtual machine, but a dedicated server, right? So developer does not have.
Sorry, but can you please repeat this? I think I just lost my track here.
Okay, so you guys would have understood by now that applications can be containerized and deployed by using Docker,
Yes.
right? Yeah. So there is no Docker involved here. That's what I said. Okay. Here is a typical data center deployment on a server,
Okay.
right? So the application resides on a server and the server is managed by the operations team. Does it make sense?
Yes.
Yes.
All right. Okay. So the developer has complete responsibility of writing his application, but has no control on the server configurations, right? So
Yes.
if your application, address book application requires, let's say Java 1.8 to run, right? Because it's a Java application, it requires Java 1.8 on the server to run. Then operations team has to provision that. They have to provision Java 1.8 and any dependencies that may be required to fulfill that, right? So this was aligned. The production server has 1.8 and okay. So here Java is installed. Everything is managed by the operations team. Yeah, everything is working fine, all good. Now developer says, hey, we have a new version of our application now. We have it address book 2.0. Can you please deploy it? Right, so the deployment responsibility lies with operations. And address book 2.0 is requested and operations says, why not? Our systems are ready. We can take it and deploy it. And then they deploy it, right? So on the production server, they deploy 2.0. Now this application in the developers testing worked fine on their staging environment where they have more control, right? Or test environment where they have more control. It worked fine. But when they deployed on the production, something went wrong and it crashed. It doesn't come up, right? They did the RCA and realized that because the new version requires Java 1.11, the application is broken, right? Because the production server has Java 1.8. Now, the dev team, because they were working on test infrastructure, they were able to install Java 1.11. They had fantastic application running and were able to QA and do any checks on the application, but did not inform the operations team about this particular requirement, right? And then this all broke, right? This is a problem, although it is a fictitious scenario here, but this is a very real problem which is faced when there is a communication gap between dev and ops, right? And this gap is sometimes due to miscommunication, sometimes due to roles differences, right? The operations guy, his primary responsibility is making sure that infra is up. The server servers do not crash, the network do not crash, the storage should not crash. I don't care as an operations guy, I don't care if applications crash. That is not my responsibility, that is developer's responsibility. My responsibility is application does not crash because of infrastructure problems, because of storage, network, resources, CPU or RAM or anything else. Because of that, application should not crash. If application crashes because of software reasons, that is up to developer, right? Operations guys targets their incentive is when they can demonstrate that my infrastructure was up for 99.9% of time, right? That is their motivation. This motivation is completely different from the motivation of developers. They don't care about infrastructure, right? If some server goes down, but it does not impact the development teams directly, they don't care if something is going down, right? So their motivation is their application should be up and running and serving the customers, right? What problems the operations team have to deal, what should be the underlying hardware or infrastructure technologies used, they don't care and they don't have any idea. So they don't want to take that responsibility. So now their target is different, their incentive is different, operations incentive is different, and that leads to silos, right? Operations guys do not have empathy for development guys. Development guys do not understand what operations guys say because they don't understand their perspective, and that is the major reason that these miscommunications or incompatibilities happen.
Hey viewers, are you looking for formal training on SRE practices? Take our SRE program. This course will teach you how to successfully implement site reliability engineering in the modern day 24/7 services. Kickstart your SRE training today. Contact info is mentioned in the video sidebars and in the description box. Book your seats for the upcoming batches now.
Right? Now, how do we solve this? So now we're talking about DevOps. We are in DevOps. How do we solve it using DevOps? In DevOps, yeah, the major terminology that you should always keep in mind is shift left. What is shift left? Shift left is moving as many tasks, responsibilities, issues to left of the pipeline or left side of the people perspective, right? So here, right now, the production environment is managed by operations team. Can we shift left these responsibilities to the dev team? Can we enable the development team to manage their environments, production environment or QA or test environment? Can we do that? So this is done, and this is done using DevOps, right? And this is achieved using a configuration management system. Okay, we will see how it is done in detail. Let's get back to one more scenario. Let me erase this part. Now let's take a positive scenario that address book 1 was deployed, and then there was a new deployment, and new deployment address book 2.0. There was a proper communication that Java 1.11 is required, so ops team enabled that, and this application was deployed. Yeah, perfectly fine, happy. But then dev team said, hey, this deployment is now working in one instance, right? Now customer is very interested in the new version of the application, and there are a lot of user requests coming on our website. Now we want to scale it up. Can you, operations team, can you deploy this application on 10 more instances? Now that is a difficult task, right? Because the servers have to be replicated. So they have to deploy 9 more or 10 more instances. And then once 10 instances are up, they have to deploy this application on all those 10 instances. Are you getting my point? Yeah, so there was one instance, one server, and one instance of the application running. Now, because of dev team's request, now operations team has to deploy 10 more servers with exact same configuration and also Java 11, and then deploy this binary on all those 10 servers. And they have to do it manually, right? Or maybe develop a script to do that. So this will be a cumbersome task. Imagine if the request was that we do it for 100 servers. That would be almost impossible to do it in a month, I would say. Yeah. So how do we solve this problem? How can we quickly configure our servers the way we desire? Yeah. So
Yeah,
how do we solve this problem?
Ansible.
Yes, please. Somebody was trying to say something.
Yeah, by installing Ansible.
Yes, definitely. By installing Ansible. Yeah, that is the solution. We already know that. That's why we are talking about this. We know
Yeah.
installing Ansible, but right now I'm trying to just emphasize on the problem. And you are right. Yeah, you are right. We need to use any configuration management system here. Yeah. So if we have a configuration management system, what it allows us to do is it allows us to store all our server configurations as a piece of code, right? So if you want to if you want to ensure that a particular server has Java 1.11 installed, we will write a piece of code for it. If you want to ensure that a particular user should be available on a particular server or servers, then again we write piece of code for it. Yeah.
So
All the
Amit, here,
configurations. Yes.
server configuration here, like, are we referring this as an image?
No, a piece of code.
Okay.
So your
Okay.
so here this is the difference between server provisioning and server configuration. Okay. If you talk about, let's say for example, your EC2 instances, yeah, you can quickly spin up EC2 instances. So you can quickly get virtual machines on the cloud. That is provisioning. You get your operating system up, right, somewhere on the cloud with
Yes.
some resources. That is provisioning. What we are talking about is configuration. So now for provisioning you need an image, or you need the bundle of tools and utilities that needs to be installed, and that will be installed by default. Yeah.
Mhm.
So that is for provisioning those images. Configuration will make a change on an existing provisioned machine.
Okay.
So you spin up a bare metal server or a virtual machine on the cloud or on your infrastructure, on your data center, wherever, and then apply these configurations on that machine, the configurations that you write as code. Okay, but there are other technologies which allow you to spin up the infrastructure completely itself. So you can just write a piece of code and say spin up 10 EC2 instances with AMI Ubuntu 20.04 or whatever. Yeah, so that is provisioning. Here we're talking about configuration. Okay, so all the configurations required on the system, on the target machines, is stored as piece of code, right? If you want a user to be created, you write it as code. If you want a particular application to be available or package to be available, for example Java 1.11, you write it as code. And who is good at writing code? Developers or operations?
Developers.
Exactly. Yeah, developers are good at writing code, but operations teams also manage their infrastructure using configuration management systems, so they are also capable of writing this code. But developers can understand how this configuration works, and they can write this code themselves and configure their servers themselves. Then operations team does not have to worry about giving permissions to these to developers, or does not have to worry about incompatibilities with the applications. Yeah, so developers can manage the configurations of their servers. This is what CM, or configuration management, enables. Right, since you write all your infrastructure configurations as piece of code, this way of managing your infrastructure is called infrastructure as code.
Hey viewers, trying to get into DevSecOps? Enroll for our DevSecOps certified professional programs and earn the certification that shows you are fit for these technical roles and requirements. Contact info is mentioned in the video sidebars and in the description box. Book your seats for the upcoming batches now.
Right, I'm sure this will not make sense till we see a demonstration. Right, so by end of this class today and tomorrow, you should be able to understand what is infrastructure as code and what is server configurations management, and how do we achieve this using Ansible. All right, so let's quickly first set up our environment where we will perform our demonstrations. Yeah, I'm going to launch my EC2 instances. I will launch 2 EC2 instances. Okay, these instances are terminated. I'm not sure how do I delete them. They should not be visible anymore. But anyways, if they are, it's okay. Let's create a couple of instances. Right. Select. I'm going to use a T2 small. Free tier also should work, but I'm going to use T3 small, yeah, just to be on the safer side. Or maybe I can just see T2 micro also. That should be enough. I want to create 2 instances, so I'm just giving that information. I'll add default storage, should be fine, and no need of giving any tags. Security groups should be okay. I'm going to open all the ports for all the machines. I also will add ICMP, yeah, for ping requests. Let's see, ICMP I will also open. So ICMP is a protocol which is used by ping. When you ping a server, it should accept and be able to send ICMP packets. If you don't have ICMP enabled, ping will not work. So I just enabled it. I'm not sure if we are going to use it, but I just enabled it. And yes, now my instances will be launched. Okay, so this is what we are going to do. This is how we are going to set up our lab. We'll set up a very small lab. We will have one control machine, also called as Ansible Server. Right, so Ansible Server, this is a server which will have the complete intelligence or complete information about how to manage the infrastructure. Right, so this is Ansible Server. Then we will have this infrastructure that it manages. So maybe I'll just change the color here. So we have then the infrastructure that it manages. So we can have Windows machines, we can have Linux machines, we can have Mac machines. All these machines can be managed or configured using Ansible. Right, in the productive environments or in enterprise environments, there could be such maybe 1,000 machines or more. right? But for our lab, we will restrict ourselves to one Ansible server and one Linux machine. So we are going to manage this Linux machine using Ansible Server. Okay, so this is the lab which I'm trying to set up, right? To set up this cluster of Ansible managed machines, we need to install Ansible here. Yeah, and we need to enable SSH based communication from Ansible to this Linux machine. Have you guys worked on SSH? Do you guys know what is SSH?
No.
Okay, then we will talk about that for maybe 1 minute. So let me see if my instances are up. Hopefully they are up. Instances. All right, our instances are up. So this I will call it as Ansible Server. Yep. And this I will call as Ansible Host. Host is a machine which is managed by the server. Okay. All right, so let's connect to these machines. This is our host. Yeah, I'm going to last time you mentioned that white over black is not good, right? Shall I change it to black over white, this text? Or is it okay?
It's okay, Amit. No issues.
Okay, no problem
Yeah.
then. I will connect to my host here. Okay, so machine 247 is host and 199 is our Ansible server, right? Now, when you're working with Linux machines, you can log in to any remote Linux machine and gain access to the terminal there, right? We are connected to terminal right now, right? You can see here, I can type my command and I get an output. This is a terminal. Now, I am right now working on our host machine, which is, or our server, which is 172.31.23.199, right? Now, if I have enough permissions, I can connect to a terminal of any other machine, any remote machine, which is in my network. So if I can reach that machine and if I have enough permissions, I can attach to a terminal on the remote machines as well. That is done using SSH. Okay, SSH is short for secure shell. So you can connect to remote computers shell securely. So if you want to, let's say, work on remote computer and install some package or make some configuration changes or check out the log files, you can do via SSH. So you don't have to remote or connect to a remote desktop and then do something like that. You can just attain a terminal. I will show you how it is done. Okay, so to understand that how SSH works, I will spend a little bit of time and explain to you that. So let's say there are two machines. One is a source machine and one is the target machine. So what we plan to do here is we are connected to our source machine and we can type all our commands. Now we want to connect to the remote machine and execute some commands on the terminal here.
Hey viewers, our Master in DevOps engineering program can help you to hone the skills necessary to succeed in high-level DevOps positions. So what are you waiting for? Enroll now and earn certification that show you are keeping pace with today's technical roles and requirements. Contact info is mentioned in the video sidebars and in the description box. Book your seats for the upcoming batches now.
Right? So we want to remotely connect to the shell on the target machine. And we want to do that using SSH. Okay, now because SSH is secure, we need to encrypt this connection. Now, one way to encrypt this connection is by using username and password. So when you SSH to the remote machine, if there is a remote user which exists on the target machine and you know this username password, then you can simply do SSH from here and provide username password and you will be connected here. Okay, but you have to enter the username password. Second thing that you can do is you can use a key pair, right? So you can generate a set of keys on the source machine, okay, which is a public key and a private key. Okay, a key pair of public and a private key. So you generate a key pair on the source machine, so a private key and a public key, and using these keys you can authenticate and also encrypt this connection. Okay, so if you have username and password, you can directly connect, no problem there. If you have public and private keys, you can initiate a connection and authenticate using these keys. So no need of username and password. But there is a challenge here. The target machine should recognize the key. So as a one-time activity, what we have to do is we have to copy this public key and let the target machine know what is our public key. Put it here. Then whenever this SSH request goes, this request goes using the private key and the request reaches the target server. The target server understands the request and sees that it is coming via this private key, and it will try to match that private key with this public key. This match will be successful because we generated this key pair. They are like brothers. So this match will be understood and authenticated, and you will achieve the shell here. Okay, so there are two ways to do this SSH. Now in EC2 instances, maybe I can just show you how passwordless with password and without password will work. So on
This is just like RDP in Windows, right?
So yes, RDP will give you a complete remote desktop. So you connect to the desktop and then you can interact with GUI, you can open terminal, you can do whatever you want. Now shell is only shell, no GUI.
Okay.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean concept is same, to connect to remote machine. Okay, so here let's say I set a password for root. I will just set something. So I have set a password for root system here. So now I know on the target system what is my username and password. Username is root and password is something which I just set. Now from this machine here, can I connect remotely to this machine? Let's try that. Let's get the complete host name of this machine, and I will say SSH and the target machine name. and the user that we want to connect as.
Thanks for watching. Want to study further? Join our training programs today.